Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there, and a welcome to you all. Could be a noisy beginning. I've got right on cue. I've got right on cue. I got workers next door. I got a dog barking at the workers next door. I got a dog walker stuck in traffic who will be coming soon, and when she arrives, there'll be more noise. Just saying. Welcome to the show. It's the 18th of June, and it's a Tuesday, and that means my sister Susan is joining us. Hey, Susan. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm so glad you said the date. It's some important birthdays in my family today.
Oh. Is it your grandson's birthday? Whose birthday is it?
Oh, no. I'm in the wrong month. Never mind. Thank God.
Okay, you thought
This is me, just being in a constant state of impending panic.
Well, listen, I think many of us can relate to that kind of constant anxiety. It just, it seems to be the way we're living these days, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, good. So you haven't forgotten anybody's birthday.
I haven't forgotten anything. I mean, I'm okay.
Well, I just want to say the dog has exited the building, so yeah, it all should be.
Well, that was quiet.
Yes, that was very quiet. The exit was quiet, and we should be good to go now, I would think. Yeah. So, I don't know, Suze. This election, when is it? November. How long?
Too far away. It's just too far away. And every time I start hearing somebody talk about anything having to do with how one makes the choice, I just get so angry. I don't understand.
I know.
It's such a binary choice. I don't know what the people are talking about. There's nothing to talk about. We just have to wait till we get to the point where we go in and vote. Don't listen to anything. Don't do anything. Just go in and vote the way you know you have to.
Well, I think you should maybe try to do more in between, like, I don't know, whatever can be done, if that's, not.
Well, I have a good friend that lives in Arizona now that's out working for Reuben.
Okay.
And I mean, she goes into the office 3 times a week and she's working for Reuben. She said, and I feel so much better just doing something.
Now, you're saying Reuben, I didn't know you're on a first name basis. Reuben Gallegos, is that the name?
Yeah, it's just easier to say his first name than his second name.
He is running for the Senate. He's the Democrat running for the Senate against.
He's running against Carrie Lake.
Well, Carrie Lake would be a nightmare, a la Marjorie Taylor Greene, only in the Senate. So we wish Reuben well, and your friend is doing good work. So yeah, there's that.
I mean, that is what I say to anybody who's feeling like they so helpless about this. There's a lot of downstate races that need a lot of people to work in them.
Yep.
And it really helps if you just go into the office and say, can I stuff an envelope? Can I make a call? Whatever you feel comfortable doing.
That's right.
Use
just
your help.
Go and volunteer. So here's the thing.
And you'll feel better, and it doesn't cost any money, and just
that's
do it.
Right. That's right. And if there's
I have new like-minded people.
I have knocked on doors. And it's not
I've knocked on doors too.
That is not something I'm particularly comfortable with. So you have to go and say, I'm uncomfortable knocking on doors. What can I do? I'll do anything, but I don't want to make phone calls or knock on doors. I'll do something. I'll do any drudge work. I'll clean
I'll do
up.
clerical.
No,
right.
definitely. But anything, and it's good to do that. And there are so many, obviously, campaigns, presidential, local, on and on and on. Anyway, I keep reading articles though that are it's so dispiriting because it says that for most of us, um, you know, we will not be deciding this election. And there's a piece today about how it is low interest voters, people who are just totally disengaged, who vote every once in a while. Those are the people that end up being the deciders. They are the consequential voters. They're low information voters. They're obviously not particularly engaged people, probably not up on news. And that it comes down
Why
to
did they vote,
those.
one asks?
I don't know, but listen, it's just scary. They're the ones that are going with their gut. And when you break things down, they have more power usually. Those are those hard to reach, undecided, low interest, not educated. Oh my God in heaven, and that's what it comes down to?
No, there's probably some high educated, low interest people too.
I don't think a lot. So anyway, there's all of that. And
well, wait a minute. To prove my point, we've all heard about that meeting of the CEOs with Trump and how they came out surprised. How could they be surprised?
Well, because they're too busy screwing consumers to pay attention to, like, they don't watch the news. They look at the stock market. But they're, people at that level are as disengaged as any people you can imagine.
Okay, so you just proved my point.
God help us. And they have more power as disengaged voters by virtue of their money, because this stuff runs on.
Well, he turned
money.
them off, so there's a good thing.
Yeah, but listen, ultimately, it doesn't matter if they think he's a blithering idiot. If
they get more money in their pocket,
that's right. Their greed is insatiable. Fuck democracy. They like his tax cuts. God. Okay. So let's not talk about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's talk about let's talk about this. I am going to read you a sentence that I read in a piece that just made me want to puke. So I'm going to read it to you and see if you want to puke. Or just...
Oh, great. Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Susan's been having some gut issues. Unintentional, Susan.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Okay, here it is. A baby name is just one facet of your personal style. In the same way, home decor and clothing are part.
Okay, enough. I'm going to puke.
Okay. Oh, God, our culture makes me puke.
A baby's name? Okay, so first of all, this means that this thing that you own, that you're going to...
Yeah.
I mean, it's all...
about you.
Yes.
It's all about you. The unbelievable self-involvement of every aspect of the existence of these people. And of course, this article, I think it was in the New York Times, might have been the Washington Post. It was about influencers, the thing to be, ask any kid under 10 what they want to be when they grow up, and it's not a princess, it's an influencer. And people pay these people to come up with unique names for their child. And as this influencer said, in our parents' day, the elements of your personal style might be known by your close friends, maybe your neighbors, but your style wasn't showcased on a larger scale than now. So this is again, I know.
So it's all about showing off and
it started when, when we all got these cameras in our hands and the phones, and people started sending each other, look at what I'm having for dinner, or look at, here I am. It's the whole thing of documenting your existence in the most minute detail and then sharing it with people who don't give a damn. And it does often seem to be bragging or showing off. It's unseemly. I can't relate in any way to it.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, we were not brought up that way. The phrase inconspicuous consumption was big in our household.
No, but it's gone so far beyond any place where we could imagine. And it is the culture now. So that the big newspapers, this is what journalists now cover. They cover these influencers and their babble. And then other people read this as if it's, it's a guidebook to how to.
Well, and there's this other little thing, there's all these little young girls that are influencers.
Yes.
And if you look into who is actually watching them, it's all old men.
Well, it's not all old men, but it's a lot of old men. And not necessarily old men.
90% of their views are men.
Are men.
Older than the child influencer.
And they
and the parents know it, and they just let their kid make the money. Yeah. Because
and they interact. I mean, these men write and interact and tell the little influencers how lovely they look in that dress, and it is so mind-boggling, disgusting. So listen, this article starts with lifestyle influencer Nara Smith named her third child Whimsy Lou.
I hope Whimsy Lou. There's karma. There's karma coming.
Oh, Whimsy Lou. She named her Whimsy Lou, as opposed to, here were the other things in the running. Tank.
Tank?
Tank. T-A-N-K. Tank.
Okay.
Flick. Halo. And Do. And
do?
Here,
like D-E-W?
Yes. Here's another reality television star who posted a video including the names she was playing with for her child. Heart, Ethereal, Prosper, and Afternoon. Her husband particularly liked Orca, but she didn't like naming the baby after a killer whale. The disgusting selfishness of these people, saddling their defenseless children.
For these kids these parents do not understand that they're having actual human beings.
Well, how could they not, though? They do. But, it's sort of like when people started using, I think I'm remembering Paris Hilton, using like a little dog as an accessory, right?
Right.
It's part of the brand. And so we have a generation so infused with this commercialized culture and how you have to have a brand. That babies are an accessory. And I would argue that the accessory, you can see that in the incredible anxiety that people have over their children now. And not in the way you should have anxiety over your child. But are they keeping up? Are they thising and thatting? Are they, this just crap? I don't know. And then there are reporters who write this shit. The woman who wrote it is Madison. There's another one. I said Paris Hilton, Madison, these place names, and I'm totally used to that, and they're fine. Madison Malone Kirscher. And she's, a reporter for, I think, the Washington Post. So this article so upset me. There's baby name consultants. They want uncommon names. They don't want their child.
And then there's the woman. I was reading someplace. There's this woman who I mean, I can't even attempt to tell you how she spelled the name, but it was mostly THs and Ys, no other vowels, and apparently it was supposed to read as an actual name. I think it was Lilith, Eva, and then something else. But none of those actual letters were in there. And some poor teacher was supposed to know how to pronounce this kid's name.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. I have no idea why someone would do that.
Well,
I do remember when my husband was an intern and was delivering a baby, and they were telling the woman that she was about to deliver someone said, "Here comes the placenta," and the woman said, "Oh, I love that name. I think that's what I name my baby."
Well, she was under duress.
No, she was.
Well, I do know of someone who named their kid Rubella. That sounds like a pretty name. Listen, you and I know that names are,
right. I got Susan, and I've hated it my whole life. And you really won.
I got nothing. I got who, what. I didn't even know I was the only kid in the school first day of my school that didn't know her name. That's how pathetic my name thing is. So if you're going to name your child something, name something that won't burden them, for God's sakes, that they have to spell, that they have to pronounce. And people so want their child to stand out that they're giving them these absurd names. Even in our family, every time a baby gets born, I know I
have a heart attack.
I know. I've never heard of half the names our next generation have. They're not outrageous, but they're different.
Yes, they are.
So I'm wondering when you think there'll be a backlash and people will just start, kids will start being,
Dick and Harry will come back.
Bob, Kathy. Yeah.
Susan.
Susan.
Yeah. I still wouldn't do that to anybody.
It's a fine name. See, those of us who don't have that name don't see anything wrong with the name Susan.
Well, it's because when I was growing up,
there were so many.
Yeah, there were. I mean, there's just dozens of me.
Brooke writes, when you said do, I thought you said doom. That, well, yeah, these children are being doomed. It's just one facet of your personal style. That being that you brought into the world. God, I cringe. The shallowness of it. These, again, are the people who decide whether our democracy will be saved. Are we kidding? These are the most unserious, self-centered, shallow humans. All right, I'll stop. Anyway, but sort of staying on the, wait, I think we got a, do we have a call? We do have a call. Hang on. Hello?
I don't know why you don't like your name. One of my favorite people in the world. She's no longer with us. Her name was Ida,
Ugh.
and I just love that name. I really do.
You can have it.
Susan, what do you think?
She's just not sort of an Ida in our heads.
Oh, but it's just there's the what do you call it? The irony. What would you like? No, I agree with you. Lynn does. Ida's not the first name that comes out, but there's a kind of coolness. If you like, look at Lynn, she's pretty cool. Oh, her name's Ida. That's even cooler. But anyway.
But here's what happened. Wait. Let me just say that when I was born, 1948, no child baby was being named Ida because that was ridiculously old-fashioned, non-modern kind of a name. Only old ladies were named Ida, not little adorable babies. And what's happened is I suspect that in the ensuing decades and decades, I may have grown into Ida because, yes, it befits perhaps an old and stronger woman. And Lynn is as insipid a name, a sort of placekeeper, right? It's one of those middle names. Anyway,
I have a friend. Who's about your age, and her name is Linda.
Yeah.
And she got sick. There was a million Lindas growing up in school in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
And she went to her middle name, which is Fern.
Whoa.
Which I would think would be qualified as almost like Ida, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, but I like Fern better.
I like Fern better too. There's something pretty about that, and it conjures something pretty. But yeah, that's old. That was gutsy of her. That's gutsy.
And the funny thing is, like, she's probably like one of the coolest people I know, and she was a radical hippie back in the day, and still likes to like party and all that good stuff. But when you talk about names, I mean, I agree with you about like some of the ridiculousness of the names, but I got to be careful how I say that because we named our daughter Zealand, like New Zealand, but didn't spell it that way.
You're kidding.
Zealand. Yeah.
How'd you spell it?
And Zeilend.
Zealand.
Yeah, and nobody ever forgets her. If you Google her, she's like, I don't know. I'm sure there's other Zealands in the world, but she likes it. And I'm like, okay.
Well, good. You lucked out.
So
you lucked out.
Where did that come from? I mean, how'd you come up with that? And then decide to spell it not like New Zealand, which at least some people would understand.
Yeah, well, so we did not want to know the gender. This is 1986, 87. And so we wanted to have a name that could be neutral, boy or girl. But we had no idea what the name would be. And then my wife was expecting a delivery for one of her customers coming from Zeeland, Michigan, spelled a completely different way. And then so that's where we came up with the name. And then while my wife was having contractions and we were in labor, and in between contractions, we came up with various spellings. Okay, I like that. I crossed that off, Oh, wait a second.
I loved when
and
you.
then
I
he went
love that
back
you
to,
say, and some women would not have. When we were going through contractions.
Right, I know. I was biting my tongue.
yeah,
I was absolutely biting my tongue, going, no.
no, I know you're so right. That is embarrassing.
Empathy only goes so far. I'll leave it at that.
I know.
Okay, well, I'm so glad though that Zealand likes her name and it worked out.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I'm just going to point out that countless people before you have dealt with not knowing the sex by picking a boy name and a girl name.
That's true too.
Can I say she is very she's not girly girl, and she always liked her hair really short, and she worked out with the junior high football team, and they were going to make her a linebacker and running back, and it really worked in her favor. And I'm sure on college applications it worked.
Yeah, that does. Oh no, that'll in the professional world it'll work to her advantage. They won't know.
And yeah, and she goes by Z a lot. Most people.
Well, that's cool. Z. That's cool.
And she lives up to her name. She's pretty cool. I mean, I'm a grossly, proud dad. So.
Well, anyway. I'm happy for you. You lucked out in all ways. Thanks for the call.
Oh,
okay, well, say hi to Z.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, by the way, my wife's name, Susan Lynn.
Oh my God! Oh, that poor woman.
Yes. Okay. Well, send her our love.
Lynn's her middle name, but she loves both her names, and I love both of them too. So.
All right. Well, good. That's good. I'll stop complaining. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Okay. Bye. Susan Lynn. Oh my God. Okay. So Suze.
Well, then she names her kid Zealand. So we'll see how much she liked it.
So I just staying with babies for a little bit, something else that blew me away. I don't know if you've been noting that now that the crazed anti-abortion crowd have, gotten rid of abortion in almost half the states.
They're coming after contraception.
Oh, they're
also divorce.
They're after everything. No, they're yes. Yep. They're after contraception. They're after, as we now know, and there are votes being taken on it, in IVF.
Right.
Is it inter vitro fertilization? It is, helping people who are struggling to do it the old-fashioned way to procreate. And we now have there was some vote, and I didn't read the article because just the headline made me so angry I couldn't see straight. There were only 2 senators, Republican senators, that voted either for or against this measure. All the others were against, essentially, IVF. You saw,
right.
I think it was
after coming out publicly when what was it, Tennessee again, whichever state it was that banned it, and they all said, "Oh no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that," and then they all voted. Their reason was, "Well, no one's coming after it. We don't need to protect this."
Yeah, well, they're coming after it, and wasn't it the Southern Baptist Convention this weekend that also voted to condemn it, IVF? And there was a piece that was written. I don't know where I read it, by a man. Who said, ideally a woman, because the women endure so much in this process, should be writing this, but I'm the writer and the husband of a woman who endured IVF. And he wrote this just enraged piece. I pulled just this out. He's talking about how this is the crowd that talks about family, right? Babies and families. And now they're against families that are created in this way and babies that are made in this way with a little help. And he said this, which I think it's just irrefutable. He said, I don't think any people alive care more about the miracle of conception, the viability of a fetus, and the gift of life than IVF patients. No one suffers more acutely or weeps more bitterly over unborn babies. They are, after all, holes at the centers of our lives. How can a person of faith fail to see the creative power of God in the intelligence that makes such reproductive technology possible? What crabbed theology sees God at work in sperm and eggs and reproductive organs, yet finds only sins in the brains of scientists and doctors? Lord, save us from these zealots. I mean, he talks about what people go through. He talks about how, they endure what they endure, the emotional pain, the waiting and uncertainty, and how this process, which, by the way, is only available to people that have money.
With money.
This process is usually, without a doubt, usually fails. So people spend, what, $20,000 a pop doing this treatment, trying to conceive a child, and it works like 25% of the time. And why would that be something? Now, I guess the church came out against it too, right? The Vatican did. Why is that something? Because it's interfering in the natural, it's still, there's something unnatural in that. It's still an egg.
You make something up.
What?
They made something up, you make something up. Well, there's no good reason to be against it. You make up a reason to be against it. It's not the natural way. What's going to happen to those? Now we have the problem about are the embryos humans or not?
Oh no!
And if they're humans, how can you freeze them for the rest of their lives and never have or destroy them or
Well, that's what happened in the state. I think it was.
Yes, they declared them human, and then all hell broke loose.
That's right. And by the
way, they declared them lives and being is what they did.
That is where we are heading. Never mind the contraception stuff, because that's also on the table. But with this Supreme Court, it is quite clear that they do want to confer true personhood on fetuses. And even
then they get all the rights and privileges, and that's going to be very inconvenient and almost impossible to do.
How do you? Yeah. How? Well, this is. He's right to use the word zealot. This is when zealots take an entire group off the rails. They just can never get enough. There's always, there's never any stopping the forward movement of whatever it is that's got, whatever bee is in their bonnet. And you never, and this crowd has, the dog who caught the car is the metaphor that's often used. They did it and got rid of Roe, and you would think that they would go home. They're just starting up, and the Republican Party is wholly behind them. Incredible. But low interest voters don't care about any of this stuff. They care about what a gallon of gas cost, the last time they filled up their tank. And they will vote based on that. We still think democracy is such a great idea. I'm just asking. I remember this phrase, and I don't know which founding father said it, but he said a well-informed citizenry is what is required to have a democracy, not a disengaged citizenry. Yeah. William writes, best names are the same way they name movie stars. Pick something that goes well with a last name. Oh boy, that is true. That is true. I can't. I'm so fearful of naming names, literally. But I had a friend who named her daughter a fine name, but with the last name, it was laughable. And I thought, why wouldn't anybody not ever even notice? How do you do that?
Well, people do it, and then people do it on purpose, like Northwest.
Well, that crowd, I mean, they just want, that's all attention. Branding, that's all constant attention. God help us. Sorry. Beth writes, listening to the names these influencers are coming up with makes me think of the hippie parents in the 60s and 70s, right? What did Frank Zappa name his?
Moon? Well, one was Moon, right?
I think Moonwalk. No? Moon, something Moon. Yeah, they named, or the brothers like River Phoenix. That's a beautiful name, actually.
Right.
Is he dead?
But, and then there's old Gwyneth Paltrow naming her daughter Apple.
Anyway, Beth writes, the difference, though, with the 60s and 70s is those hippie parents came up with those names when they were stoned or on acid. She says, who knew that fame was a more powerful drug than LSD and weed? Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? That's funny. Yes, well, just so you know that your child is only one facet of your personal style.
Of you.
Your personal style, Susan. And you are nothing more than your style and how you present. God, well, dang it.
That explains it, because I have put myself in the invisible category.
Jeez. Margaret's saying it's Moonbeam. Is that it? Zappa?
Maybe Moonbeam.
I don't know. Then there was a boy, wasn't there? I don't know. Yeah, well, nowadays, and I've said this before, where I knew something was changing was when early 80s, when the whole on-air TV crowd?
No, it's just Moon, Zappa, and Dweezil.
Oh, that's it, Dweezil.
And Ahmet and Diva.
Moon Unit.
No, it's Moon Unit.
Unit.
Moon
Yeah.
Unit.
Ellen says Moon Unit Zappa and Dweezil.
Dweezil, Ahmet, and Diva.
Milton writes Thomas Jefferson. What? Oh, Thomas Jefferson.
No, he's who said what you said.
A well-informed. Now there was a name, Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, Thomas Jefferson said, yeah, a well-informed citizenry. And E1 wants to say, and Ahmet always points out that the name rhymes with vomit. Well, that's what happens when you have a name like that. Sure. Is that a boy or girl, Ahmet? I don't know. Yeah, my name rhymes with vomit. Nice. Oh,
well, I once in my long storied political career was running against a formidable component who was doing all sorts of nefarious things and claiming that her name, that she had to do it because her name was so unusual and hard to pronounce. And I absolutely, shame on me, couldn't resist it. But it was a one-syllable word, and I said, that's silly. It rhymes with poop.
Oh, that's not good, Susan.
I won. Well. Of course, she did too. They voted against, but we were mortal enemies, but anyway.
Rhymes with poop. Hang on, I got another. I'm trying to get a. Gigi writes, names are so tricky. My mom refused to give my sister and me middle names because she hated her middle name so much. Well, yeah. She figured giving a kid one name was torture enough. So what did I do? I gave my kid a first name, a middle name, and 2 last names. My last name and my husband's last name. Right. My son is grown up now, and this year he thanked me for giving him 2 last names. He thinks it's cool. But what I've always often wondered is, okay, so if 2 people with 2 last names marry and have children, do those children end up with 4 last names? It could get out of control at some point. Ahmet is a boy. And Milton says, the full quote is, an educated citizenry is a vital requisite for our survival as a free people. Well, I gotta tell you, if that slave owner was right, then we're fucked, okay? An educated citizenry is a vital requisite for our survival as a free people. E1 writes, Ahmet and vomit, well, it's better than Greek names, like one of my favorite artists who recently passed away, who records as Vangelis. His full birth name is Evangelos Odysseus Papathanassou. Man, there's a mouthful. Can you imagine, when you're a little kid and you have to learn how to spell your name too? I always felt for kids who had like these really like long last names. Mine was,
or names with too many vowels that you couldn't hear.
Right. Or, I mean, ours was Miller. It was so easy. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I wanted to wing by you today was getting off of names. But I think sticking somewhat with branding, and it's a politician who I've often talked about as clearly understanding in this culture the importance of branding, and that's our senator, John Fetterman. Susan, I don't know if you heard, he was in a car accident.
I did hear. It made national news.
Yeah, well, when I first heard he was in a car accident, he rear-ended somebody on a highway, which is hard to do if you think about it. I mean, because if you're going that, I don't know. I recently rear-ended somebody on a highway, but it was in heavy traffic when we were moving very, very slowly, and I just didn't quite, stop in time. Minimal damage to all involved, and certainly the guy I ran into. But Fetterman, it turns out he's speeding and rear-ends somebody. Whoa. How do you do
He's speeding and just runs into the back of their car?
Yes. How do you do that?
Well, you shouldn't be driving. I mean, you're not paying attention.
Well, one of the
and
local...
his wife was in the car, so she wasn't paying attention either.
Well, or she had no... anyway, I have to tell you, since then, one of the local television stations went and got photos of his car. And man, yow. The airbags obviously went off. The front was just smashed. It is amazing they weren't more hurt. Or the poor woman who they ran into. And I mean, he really mucked this whole thing up. First of all, it says something about him. A recklessness, I would say, that doesn't sit well with me. And in a follow-up piece, the New York Times said that former staff members said that Fetterman was a notoriously distracted driver who often made video calls and read news articles on his phone while driving. They said,
for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, they said he caused them major anxiety every time he got behind the wheel. And some eventually refused to be in a car if he was driving. So, I don't know. This bespeaks a kind of sense of privilege, a reckless disregard for others that you're sharing the road with.
ADHD? I mean, a real inability to concentrate on one task.
Well, you know what? I do think he might. Who told me this? Just the thing about his clothes and what he wears, that he well could have ADHD or something like it. And yeah, he's an odd one. He's an odd one.
Yeah, he is. He's let's just agree that he seems to be neurodivergent.
That's correct. He's neurodivergent. But the article also said this, which really pissed me off. Mr. Fetterman may have become accustomed to high speeds after years of being driven around by a security detail when he was the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. He would be chauffeured by state troopers who would fly down the turnpike pushing 90 miles an hour, former aides recalled. Now, what the hell?
Well, what's that about?
What? Yeah, you tell me. State troopers get to speed, but they'll arrest us for the same? What the hell? I also want to point out that all of these quotes about his driving, and this one too, are former aides. And he has had a lot of aides leave him recently over, I suspect, his, who knows? part of it is his moved more to the center. I don't know. E1 also writes back to names. This guy who died, whose name was Vangelis, he's best known for the music for Chariots of Fire. Oh, I love that.
Ah, okay.
Blade Runner. Whoa. And a lot of his music appeared on the original Cosmos with Carl Sagan. Oh, he wrote beautiful stuff. I think Chariots of Fire won because of the music.
Because of the song.
Because of the music and that opening. I think it was the opening scene, or the one I remember of them running on the beach and that music playing. It was just so.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching. Dr. Zhivago was on the other afternoon.
Right.
And I forgot how Lara's theme runs. Every 2 seconds they're playing that one song. It's the only song in the movie almost.
Yeah. So you were watching a lot of Turner Classic Movies yesterday. I called Susan or texted her, and she said she was watching. What were we watching at that point? Because I had it on too. There was The Great Escape, and then after The Great Escape was In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah, we watched that too. Yeah.
Whoa, those are both such good movies. Really good movies. They call me Mr. Tibbs. Rod Steiger and
right.
watching.
The gum chewing would almost. I thought I was going to scream. He was so good at that gum chewing.
Amazing. Really well done movie. Really well done. And The Great Escape. I actually had forgotten. I'd forgotten parts of it, so that when they mowed down a whole bunch of them, I was, oh no, I can't believe I forgot.
I knew that. Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't remember. I knew that when it happened. And when the movie ended, Mother looked at me and she said, "Well."
You call it a great escape. Don't they escape? Very few. How many did? The two guys in the rowboat, the guy heading into with the suitcase.
I don't know that any of them got away.
Spain.
They killed 50 of them.
I know, but we do see. Yeah, you think the guys in the plane are going to make it out, and they don't. And then I think the two guys in the rowboat and the guy James Coburn played him.
Steve McQueen.
No, Steve McQueen didn't.
Steve McQueen
got captured
on the motorcycle.
Yeah, but he didn't. He got captured again.
They all get captured.
No, they don't. The two on the boat do not get captured. They get up on that, they make it and get on some big ship. That's the last we see them, right?
Okay.
And I think the last we see Coburn, he's following a Spaniard into Spain. And I think he got out. I don't know. Good movies. Okay, what do I have?
And no commercials. And here's my commercial for it. No commercials. Because that's why we started watching movies. Mother, as usual, was watching news and complaining that all it really was commercials. And so I turned the channel.
Yeah, well, it's much better to have Turner Classic Movies on for her. I mean, it is. What, the news? So depressing, and it's just the same thing. I mean, you just can't. I want to just, before we run out of time, there's a local writer, Sue Kerr, who wrote a piece, a very long piece about her father's death. It wasn't completely about her father's death, but it was about the fact that she could not give him what she had given her mother and what had been given to her ancestors, which was an obituary in the local newspaper. And the reason being, first of all, here
There wasn't one.
Well, that's often the case, but our local newspaper, it's on strike. I mean, the reporters and some others are on strike. It's the longest newspaper strike, I believe, in years and years and years and years. And it's not going to get one. It's just so sad. But because of that, a lot of people, including the author, Sue Kerr, and me, will not pay 1 penny for that paper. I'm not reading that paper, not. But that means, and she pointed this out, she thought, but I have to let the people my dad knew know that that's how you find out that people, are gone. You read the local newspaper's obituaries, right? Yeah. And so she actually called the strikers and said, can I put in my father's? And they said, well, of course, we don't consider that crossing the picket line. You do that. So she, wrote up a piece and then proffered it to the paper and saw that it was going to cost $600. She has very little money. She lives on disability. She is actually, she has a GoFundMe going now for some legal expenses. She's got a lot on her plate, and a $600 obituary was out of her reach. So her father didn't get an obituary because the paper uses obits now. And she said, in a people's time of grief and wanting to share something about their loved one, people end up spending money that they maybe don't have, adding even more to the high cost of dying in this consumer culture where everything has a price. But she talks about the fact that the community loses. I mean, it is true. I don't know anymore who's gone, unless they're Jews, because I do get the Jewish weekly paper. So anybody who's a Jew, I know if they've died. But I don't know anybody else. I don't know, maybe former people, coworkers, or unless I don't know, somebody says something to me. And there's something so awful about that. What a local newspaper does, that's just one little thing that is so important for a community. And we in Pittsburgh, at least those of us who are respecting the picket line, we don't have it anymore. And she was not able to provide that to her dad. And his funeral was not well attended. And it just added more pain to her. Anyway, she writes a long piece. It's in Public Source, which I tell people about all the time, which is doing local news reporting. It's a nonprofit, and she wrote a first-person article about this. And in it talks a lot about just this fascinating family she's from. All these immigrants and mill workers, and she was able to find their obituaries, but now, 2024, no obit for her dad because she didn't have $600. Laura writes, the cost was why I did not put an obituary for my mother. And my husband didn't want anyone to know he died. So I didn't bother. It still troubles me that I didn't. But I could not believe the cost. Well, that's Laura, and she's writing from Michigan. So this is what papers now who don't have the advertising revenues they used to have, they're hitting up the aggrieved.
Well, they probably charge by, the print inch or something, and if you just want to put in a name and a date and, and make it a 3-line obit as opposed to
a real I don't
obituary, think it was just a death notice.
A death notice still costs plenty. It still costs
money, but it wouldn't cost $600, and it's not what they wanted to do. But you could inform people for less money. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I don't know. Everybody's on the tape.
It's awful.
And when people are most vulnerable, grief-stricken, you sell them a more expensive coffin than they need. Yeah, you just take them. It's really something. All right. That's it. Sorry, I didn't have a good obit today, but yeah, my obit.
Well, you could have. Anuka May died. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. It was a beautiful, wondrous French, right? Actress.
Right. French actress. She was 92.
Oh God, was she gorgeous? I haven't read the obituary. I definitely will. Okay, I think that's it. Suze, hope you continue to feel better. Hang on.
Me too.
Laura's just saying, just listing my mother's basic information, not naming her 5 children. And this was 6 years ago. It would have cost $120. See,
that's ridiculous. But
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you think the local paper used to have a sense of public service in this regard.
Well, that was actually news. Reporting the deaths was news.
Yes. And one of the more important things to hold a community together. I'm so sorry about that, Laura. Just outrageous.
Yeah, terrible.
Okay, that's it. Suze, I hope you feel better. Continue to feel better.
Thank you.
And give a hug to Mom.
I will.
And stay cool. I don't know how to do.
I'm putting all the storm windows down and hoping for the best.
Okay. We'll all hope for the best as we fry. All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. Okay, guys, that's it for me too. And wait, why am I all of a sudden forgetting how to get out of here? I remember. Okay, really, stay cool. Keep hydrated. And that's it.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.